What up? What up?
Yo,
Castlevania, Aria of Sorrow, the GBA game. I was running it on emulator on my ROG Ally, so I was playing it on my new little handheld.
playing Dokkan Battle for the anniversary.
Test. There we go. That was weird. You guys say something?
Yo,
Okay, so they can hear you, but they can't hear me. Of course. Oh man, what is up with this episode? This episode is nothing but problems right now. So apologize. I did introduce everybody. I was talking about how I'm playing Pokemon Black for stream. Also playing Pokemon Soul Silver on my own time, which I will go ahead and beat. And I've also been playing Sonic Unleashed on the Wii, which is more of like a quick game. I just go ahead and do a level and kind of exit right away. And then been playing Naruto. Was it Naruto Clash of Ninja Revolution 3, which is not like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm's an actual like fighting game, and very fun game. It's kind of nice to play. Nice to see that like all the characters are unlockable. There's no DLC. You just go through, play the game, you get money, and use that money to unlock other characters, other what's it called, other like stages and stuff like that to fight. There's other modes you can unlock by using that money. So a lot of cool things in that game. That's very fun. I've been playing that as well, and I believe that was everything I mentioned, right? I don't know if I missed out on a game. I feel like Dragon Quest Five. Been playing the PS2 version of Dragon Quest Five. I was watching Geekdom 101 play it on his stream, and I forgot how, like I knew the PS2 version existed. I did not know that there was an English translation patch for it. So I went ahead and got the English translation patch, and now I'm playing through there, and it's nice to see. It is a fan made translation patch. So it's like I played your Dragon Quest Five on mobile, which is like the legit like translation that's using the NDS Nintendo DS translation, and it's kind of weird how like some of the names are just completely off, and some of the stuff they say is like, yeah, I don't think that's what they meant. Where the actual localization says something different. But other than that, it's nice to play that game because it's just it's a PS2 version. It's orchestrated music, so the music sounds great. It's not MIDI tracks or anything like that. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into our first big topic. The Xbox has finally won against the FTC, which seemed to be like their biggest obstacle because it seems like the things in Europe have gone pretty much calmed down. There were at first I know the CMA was against it and the European Union I believe it was against it, but they finally settled that in, and then the FTC went after them, and it looks like they just didn't really have a case. I mean, to begin with, a lot of the stuff they were saying kind of like made no sense, but there was a lot of stuff that came out of this case. But before we get into that, what were you guys' thoughts on this case? Like, were you guys following this at all?
I wasn't.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, if I see it pop up, I mean, I'll look at an article every once in a while, but I wasn't too invested in the whole Activision, Blizzard, Microsoft thing. I mean, if it
Mm.
happens, if it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I
I'm a
hear ya.
mobile gamer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another freaking company merger acquisition. You know,
Yeah.
we're
I was
probably
like,
not going to
woohoo,
see
they won,
until like
but
the
I was
next
like,
like. I
I
don't think
played
anything's going to
PS5.
change from now until like maybe 3 or 4 years from now.
Yeah.
Like they're probably going to keep it status quo for a while before they
Mhm.
rock any boats.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I was following it, of course, to report it on the podcast and everything, but I was like always tied into it. I think the most interesting stuff that came out of there has really nothing to do with the case itself, but it's like their perspective on the industry and their thoughts on like the competitors and stuff like that. And also the FTC's thoughts on everything going around. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was either the judge or somebody from the FTC said that excuse me, that Nintendo's not an actual competitor to Xbox, which I find funny. I mean, partially correct, right? Because Nintendo kind of does their own thing, but
Always has.
yeah, exactly. But they are selling like crazy, right? They've sold plenty of units. I believe they're number 3 on the list of most sold units, if I'm not mistaken. The only two things above the Nintendo Switch is the Nintendo DS and the PlayStation 2. I believe those are the only two things above it that has sold more than the Nintendo Switch as of right now, which is kind of crazy because it's already outsold the PlayStation 4, and it's been around, not as long as the PlayStation 4. Nintendo, it's very close to the Nintendo DS, and then soon, I don't know if it's going to reach PS2 numbers, but it's possible, right? That it might reach PS2 numbers. But for them to say that was kind of weird. And let me go to my notes. There's a bunch of other stuff too. Uh, they've those files kind of showed how much like games like Horizon Forbidden West cost Sony to make, which was like millions of dollars. Like it was crazy how much that they spent on these games, which was very interesting. Who Microsoft was looking to buy. So there was rumors for the longest time. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but that Microsoft was looking to buy Sega. And it appears that those rumors were actually true, but eventually they never went with Sega. But they were looking for a Japanese company so they can increase their presence in Japan because, as you guys know, Xbox does not sell as good
They're used as
as.
seats. Yes.
Say it again.
I said the Xboxes there are used as seats. Yes.
Pretty much, right? Like
Box.
nobody like that buys Xbox really over there. Even though the Xbox Series S has been a lot more popular this term around, I'm pretty sure it's because of the price point. Like for next gen gaming, you can buy a $200 or was it $250 machine, right, and call it a day, versus a $400 or $500 machine to do that. So those have been a lot more popular. But it was kind of interesting. They were looking at Sega, they were looking at Square Enix, and a couple of other studios. They're trying to see who they can buy to go ahead and increase their presence in there. And they were willing to like throw money. There was also talks. There were like internal emails between Sony, and they were talking about how Microsoft just has the money and they're bullying like everybody around because they could just buy any studio they want, and they were willing to buy. Basically, they were gonna buy Sony out of business, if that makes sense. They were just basically they were assuming that Microsoft was just gonna buy everybody, and eventually Sony will be on their own and making their own games, and that's it. Which we all know that won't really happen, but that's kind of the type of money that they were looking to spend, which they did when they bought with them buying Activision Blizzard, because that's a lot of money they're spending. You got the court cases and everything, plus the money they're spending to buy that, which
Yeah,
is
but they
pretty
made
interesting.
Warcraft. They'll make it up.
Yeah, exactly, right. World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, all that stuff. And then the final thing was actually pretty interesting. It was the Nintendo Switch successor. So there were a lot of notes there where apparently the Nintendo Switch is going to be as powerful as a PlayStation 4, which is very interesting. I mean, I believe everybody here believes a new Nintendo Switch is coming sooner rather than later. There's rumors that next year is the time. That's when they'll release a more powerful Nintendo Switch. Nintendo themselves has stated it in their business calls where people keep asking, what is going to be possible in the new Nintendo Switch. They've already stated like your account will be able to transfer over to the new Nintendo system. All your games will appear there. It looks like, so that's kind of confirming backwards compatibility there. And it's just interesting to see that all this information came out of a trial with Xbox. Like literally a lot of stuff was being leaked from there. So I mean, I'm kind of glad it's over. And today, breaking news, right? Today, Microsoft did sign a deal with PlayStation to have Call of Duty on their platform for at least the next 10 years. So that is, you know, kind of interesting there. But there is a flip side to it because it looks like PlayStation is kind of upset that this went through. And now it's like they're looking into buying other companies. And supposedly rumors are they're looking into buying Square Enix, which would be very interesting. So, what are your thoughts on that? What would you guys do if PlayStation bought Square Enix?
As a PC gamer with a PS5, it does not matter.
Mm-hmm. I hear that.
I think I'd be fine with it. I mean, a lot of their stuff ends up being on Sony, PlayStation anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably not going to really change the status quo.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one of those things that
I'm winning either way.
yeah, I think for us, yeah, because we all either own all consoles or all platforms. Uh, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that because Square Enix does also make a lot of Nintendo Switch exclusives, right? Like Octopath Traveler 1, which is now on multiple platforms, but you have things like Dragon Quest 11S, which is now on multiple platforms, but a lot of games that had first came
Just
out on
because they're
Switch and
buying
then they
them
move
doesn't mean
over.
that they're going to be pure exclusive.
But you don't think
So
PlayStation would go that route? Because I feel PlayStation is more likely to go the pure exclusive route than
I mean, they can.
yeah.
They just don't have to.
Yeah, because look at Final Fantasy 16, for example, right? That's right now, as of right now, it's PS5 exclusive. Final Fantasy 7 remake or rebirth is also going to be PS5 exclusive.
But the thing is, that's always been the thing. That's always
Yeah.
been the case.
Mm-hmm.
So like, they're not breaking any status quo.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
just
mean,
any new game that they come out with, they have that option.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy was basically the reason why you bought a Sony PlayStation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like the PS1 when it came out, you could only play Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, on a PlayStation. You
Yeah.
couldn't get it on anything else. So, I mean, them continue to do what they do now, I don't think it will change. I mean,
Yeah.
if they bought Square Enix, they'll continue to do the whole it'll be exclusive for a period of time and then, when we feel we want to, we'll
Mhm.
release it to other platforms.
I mean, for
And
me,
really, the console wars didn't start till the 360 and the PS3 because it was the PS2 and the PS2 alone. That was the only console that existed, only console that mattered.
I mean, the
I
Xbox came out, but then like it wasn't really most people that
It,
bought an
it-
Xbox didn't buy
I had
for
one.
the exclusives other than Halo, because
Mhm.
at that point the Xbox was being hacked like crazy and people were using it for like straight emulation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
It
then, well,
wasn't
I mean,
even
Knights
a
of the Old
console.
Republic too.
Yeah,
Knights of the Old Republic was also
yeah,
available.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. Like in my opinion, in that generation, I would say I did use the PS2 more than any other console. But when I look back at it, I think the GameCube was the better of the two. The downside was the library of GameCube, but the library that the GameCube had, a lot of them were bangers. I mean, and a lot of the games look better on GameCube than both Xbox and PS2. For example,
Oh, I didn't have a PS2.
uh, yeah. Well, for example, I always
I had
put
GameCube.
in the biggest one is Resident Evil 4. I played it first on GameCube, and then I remember my brother's friend coming over and playing it on PS2. I was like, oh, like everything looked all more muddy. Like there was no like puddles or anything like that, where the GameCube was strong enough to handle that. Of course, we all know GameCube's biggest drawback was the discs. Since the discs were so small, they couldn't hold as much data. Therefore, like Resident Evil 4, for example, was 2 discs, so you had to actually swap discs there. Resident Evil 0, I believe, was also 2 discs, or it might have been Resident Evil 1. I don't remember. One of those were also 2 discs though. So that was a downside to the GameCube. But
I
yeah, I
just
would say
didn't
the
know how I
big the
was
big
using the
console
controller.
wars. What was that?
I said I just didn't know how I was using that controller for GameCube. I look back at it like, ew.
Oh, I love that control. I still have one. I use that for Smash all the time. One of my favorite controllers ever made. Uh, but yeah, you look back at it, and yeah, I would agree. Like, I think things got more heated when the Xbox 360 came out, and then of course the PS3 were going neck and neck. And at that time, Nintendo was kind of like you know what, we're gonna do our own thing. While you guys are fighting out, we're gonna go the Wii route, and we're gonna go ahead and make everybody a gamer, and we're gonna
Well, they
get
just
all that
broke records
money.
with the Wii.
Yep.
That was
Yeah.
life changing.
Yeah. It was. till this day, and it's still fun. Like Wii Sports, I'm sure everybody has memories of Wii Sports. I do, playing it with my family. I know a lot of people have memories for Wii Sports. Great, great. You know, it was a great system. I think when I look back at it, as much as I hated the motion controls, there was still a lot of great memories with the Wii.
Well, it became a novelty after a while, and it's just like, well, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And then Microsoft tried to copy that with the Kinect, and the Kinect was
Sony as well, with the rubber balls
yeah,
they were using with their
the
controllers.
the move PlayStation Move.
Yeah. PlayStation Move and the PlayStation Eye.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, everybody tried to copy that, and you just can't. It's just a once in a lifetime experience. So everyone that experienced that, they got it. Everybody else is not gonna be able to experience that no more. I still play a lot of Wii games. Naruto Clash of Ninja Revolution. That's a Wii game. I was playing that, and there's still a lot of great games on there for emulation. But I guess that goes good for our next section, which is about old video games are dying. It's very sad, very, very sad. As an old gamer over here, it's sad to see that according to the study by video game, what is it? Gamehistory.org, 87% of video games are basically gone. They're not available. There's no way to play them by modern means, right? And when we're talking about this, we're not talking about emulation, right? Emulation makes video game preservation possible. This is without emulation, right? Without the need of having to do all that. 87% of video games are not available to play today. And this is based off of a report that gamehistory.org is. If you guys don't know, they're part of the Video Game History Foundation, which is basically advocating for preservation of video games. There's a big issue with preservation of video games in all platforms, right? Whether it's mobile, modern day platforms, Stadia, right? That's a good example there, where your games that you play today may no longer be available 10, 20 years from now. And it's a thing, right? Look at recently the 3DS, the what was it? The 3DS and the Wii U shops closed down. There are many exclusive games that are tied only to the online stores. They were completely gone. They're no longer available. There's no way for you to play unless you're doing emulation. And of course, you got companies like Nintendo that are trying to stop emulation from happening, which, in my opinion, shouldn't be a thing. I get it for modern games, right? I'm not a big believer of, hey, let me download this Nintendo Switch game and play it and play this there. Like, I'm not a big believer of doing that. I'm a big believer of like, there's this old game you want to really try out and it's not available today. Then yeah, go ahead and emulate it. See a bit of video game history. And this seems to be an issue only in video games, because according to this, I'll read where's it at? This section of the article says the Video Game History Foundation, in partnership with the Software Preservation Network, has conducted the first ever study on the commercial availability of classic video games, and the results are bleak. 87% of classic video games released in the United States are critically endangered. Imagine if the only way to watch Titanic was to find a used VHS tape and maintain your own vintage equipment so that you could still watch it. And what if no library, not even the Library of Congress, could do any better? They could keep and digitize that VHS of Titanic, but you have to go all the way there to watch it. It sounds crazy, but that's the reality we live in with video games. A $180 billion industry, while the games and their history disappear. Just 13% of video game history is being represented in the current marketplace. In fact, no period of video game history defined in this study even cracked 20% representation. And then there is a graph. I'm going to actually go ahead and share my screen here so you can see the graph there, because the graph is actually pretty interesting. Make sure I got the right browser up for this. There we go. So in the graph here, you can see that basically it shows like how much percentage. You can't really see the percentage here, but you can see like the bar graph, right? Between 1975 to 1979, very small. 1980 to 1984, it's small. 1985 to 1989, 1990 to 1994. So basically 2010 and before. None of them hit past 20%, which is crazy. And like 2009 was not that long ago. That's only, what are we in, 2023? So what, that would have been about 14 years ago, right? If my math is correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So only 14 years ago, only 20% of those games are available to play. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
As a mobile gamer, I am conditioned to invest a lot of money into things that once they go end of service, everything disappears. So
So NPSensei used to it.
It,
It's
you
like,
know,
it's
and
just
that's
it's
that's
just
an
part of
interesting
life.
thing. Yeah, and that's an interesting thing that he says, right? Because like this generation, because MP Sensei is younger than me and you, fan,
Yeah.
and it's interesting to see because the modern generation is going to be used to this. Like to them, it's gonna be like, oh well, I just spent $1,000 on this game, it's gone. Oh well, on to the next thing, right? And
yeah,
that's
I just had
like,
one of my games die.
yeah, it's like, Tales of Cristoria was a great example. That was a mobile game. I loved that game. The game was actually really fun. I invested a lot of time into that, and then it just died and disappeared, and that's it. Like it's gone. I was like, what the heck? Like, why is this going on? Why is this happening? And that 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 kind of annoys me because I really like the game, but now there's no way to play it. There's not an offline version. There's not a anything version. It's just gone forever, and that bothers me because somebody who likes playing games and takes their sweet time, of course, it just sucks when something just disappears. What about you, fan? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it kind of sucks
Mm-hmm.
because people who are getting into gaming can only experience what's available to them right now, right? So they're missing out on a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
we grew up with, that I grew up with, that you won't be able to play. So, and they're gonna have to do it digitally. You can't even do it on original hardware
Yeah.
anymore. And even if you could, it's just expensive as hell.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of people out there that collect games, but then they end up selling their collection just because it's just too expensive of a hobby,
Yep.
and they can't keep up the collection anymore. So, I mean,
It's
it kind of
cluttery.
sucks, and that's why I'm like, I'm okay with ROMs. Like if because I'm not going to spend $100 just to play a game again that I can't play real when I would rather
Go
try
spend
and
money
do it
on
through
mobile
other
games.
means, like Legend of Gaia on the SNES.
Mm-hmm.
I found it at a local retro shop, but it's like $80.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, I'll just go download the ROM. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. Like I have my OG Game Boy Color here, and it's true. Like this has been maintained, except for like the back door for the batteries is missing because I lost that a long time ago when I was a kid. But for the most part, it's been maintained, and I have the original copy of Tetris. Like I got this with the OG Game Boy, and I still have that, and this still works. But it's like, as far as this goes, if I want to play a Game Boy game, like I kind of have to keep this, make sure this stays alive, make sure I don't have to repair because I think I have to repair the speaker because it's very low, or maybe that's just how loud the Game Boy always was. I don't think that was the case, but I don't know. I could be wrong. But anyways, I might have to repair the speaker, right? The screen is not the best, but for me to be able to play any game, I would have to get this. But then I gotta find the cartridges, and the cartridges are even harder to find, and not only that, like there's a lot of things to go with that. And then, like Fan said, the prices. A good example is a game that I'm very upset that I cannot find, and that's Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I owned it. I lost it like a few years ago, right? I moved over here, and I cannot find it at all. And I'm very upset at that because that game now, if I want to re-buy that game itself is $350 alone. Like it's ridiculous. Like what it's a game I owned previously that I lost, which kind of sucks. But like now it's $350. Not only that, if I wanted to buy, I'm gonna go to eBay right now to see exactly how much a GameCube costs. But I would have to buy a GameCube because my brother Shu, he he gave away my GameCube, and yeah, I'm very upset at
Yeah.
that.
I was actually thinking of picking up a Wii, like one
Yeah.
of the old ones, the
Mm-hmm.
Gen 1, Gen 2 that still are backwards compatible to a GameCube.
Yeah.
Just because it's cheaper to do that than try and find an actual GameCube.
Yeah. It is. It's funny. I had a Wii too, but it broke, which kind of sucks.
It's like you can find a Wii on Marketplace that plays GameCube games, and it's like $50, $75, less than 100.
Yeah, and it's
You
just
look,
better to go that route.
and then you look for a GameCube, and it's like $100, $150. It's just,
Yeah, I'm trying to find.
I mean, I'd love to have a GameCube again, just to actually have, but
Yeah, look,
I'm
there's a
not gonna
Wii
spend
bundle right
$150.
here for $64 on eBay. Yeah, where there's a GameCube bundle here for $200. So
Yeah,
it's like a lot
yeah,
more expensive. Yeah, the GameCube on
yeah.
its own is $85 here, which is actually that's not that bad.
But if you get a Wii has its hardware plays
Mhm.
GameCube games,
Yeah,
so there's no difference. It's true hardware. It's not emulation,
exactly.
so
It's
you're
funny
not
when you open up the
losing any
Wii and
difference.
you just see the GameCube.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is.
yeah, it's a GameCube. I think it had a better
Probably
uh
more. I think it's more RAM, and a little bit better processor, but it's essentially almost the same.
I mean,
yeah.
because their games weren't like high def, so
No,
Mm-mm. That's why they were even though they weren't high def, like you got games like Mario Galaxy that look beautiful for a 480p game. But yeah, like it pretty much was a GameCube, just a little bit more powerful. And it had, CD-ROMs that were or DVDs they were able to, pack more data, so therefore you can fit more textures and stuff like that into the disc itself.
mhm.
But it's kind of crazy to think that, you know, in order to play old games, by law, you have to own the hardware, right? And the software. Even though nobody's making them today, you have to find it by, somebody randomly selling it, and they're charging an arm and a leg, especially nowadays because retro gaming has become so popular recently. And now everybody's just charging like a ridiculous amount of money. Have you tried trying to buy a Pokemon game for Nintendo DS lately? Have you looked at those
Uh,
prices?
dude, they're
four
so
four to
expensive.
5 years ago, each one was $100.
Yeah.
I
And
remember.
it's so Pokemon Black was one that for the longest I was looking for. And if we look right now, let's see how much it is on eBay. Yeah, Pokemon Black right now it's selling for $95.
Yep.
A legit copy. Yeah, Pokemon Black 2 is selling for $120.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you find it any cheaper than that, they're fake reproduction cards, basically.
But they've been like that for about, I kid you not, about 4 to 5 years.
Yeah. It was, well, the last time I checked, I think they were like $50 during 2020, I want to say. Because I remember when the pandemic started, I got into this Pokemon craze, and I just wanted to buy every Pokemon game. I ended up buying a Pokemon Platinum game because I thought it was a good buy, and I bought a Pokemon Soul Silver. And then
Mhm.
literally like a day later, Nintendo Life did a video on how to tell fake cards from real cards, and I found out that both of those cartridges were fake. I was like, no. But it made sense too because I was wondering, is that why does that game randomly freeze at certain
How
points?
much is Soul Silver right now and Heart Gold?
Oof, they're probably more than Pokemon Black. Let's see.
Because they were pretty expensive last time I checked.
$170.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, they got fake they have the reproduction versions for like $23. But yeah, just the game itself without a case is anywhere from 100 to $200. That's crazy. Yeah, like,
If you could find one with a Pokeball, bet it would be 400.
oh yeah, for sure. But yeah,
Or you know
it's
that came with that Pokewalker?
yeah, I remember that the Pokewalker that you
Mm-hmm.
can't you like transfer your Pokemon to it and they level up or
Yes, you sure
something?
could.
Yep. I do remember that. Soul Silver was one that I didn't get at launch. I was kind of upset at, but at that time I didn't have money. What's up, David? Welcome to the podcast. Uh, I didn't have it at launch. Like I didn't have the money, so like at that time, Nintendo DS emulation was just coming out, and I was like, all right, let me go ahead and try to emulate it. Yeah, like at the computer I had wouldn't run it at all. It
Mm.
was bad. But yeah, it's kind of a shame, like to think about this. That all this history is gonna be gone, and it makes sense what they're trying to say. I'm trying to find a quote here. Where's it at? Oh yeah, here it's under quick facts. So quick facts here. And again, this is from Video Game History Foundation. Let me go ahead and actually share the screen so you guys can see the the quotes here. So quick facts. 87% of classic games are not in release and are considered critically endangered. So meaning there's no other way to play them on modern platforms. Availability is low across every platform and time period tracked in the study. Libraries and archives can digitally preserve, but not digitally share video games and can provide on-premises access only. Libraries and archives are allowed to digitally share other media types, such as books, film, and audio, and are not restricted to on-premises access. The Entertainment Software Association, these are the bad guys, right? The ESA, the video game industry's lobbying group, has consistently fought against expanding video game preservation within libraries and archives, meaning no borrowing video games from a library, right? Like if a lot of these games were available to be backed up to a library, then it would make things easier, right? Say you want to rent a GameCube game, you find a GameCube game, go to a local library and rent it. You can do this with books, you can do this with movies, right? I'm not sure how long you guys or how long it's been since you guys been to a local library, but they have plenty of movies there that you can go ahead and borrow. But you can't do that with video games. They won't allow you to do that. And it's mainly because the ESA fighting against it. They pretty much don't want video game preservation because they know video games make money. It's a billion-dollar industry, and if older games are available for borrow, then it's like, well, why we're not gonna be able to sell you a copy of the same game all over again, which kind of sucks. But yeah, that is that when it comes to that. It's very, very sad to see that that's a thing, and that's something that we have to really look out for. 10 years from now, PlayStation 4 games are probably going to be like non-playable, right? We hope for the future to be a little bit brighter because backwards compatibility is coming back. That used to be a thing all the time, and then for out of nowhere just disappeared. But we do have backwards compatibility coming back, so hopefully now that we have account systems and stuff like that, things can move forward. But there's another issue when it comes to that, and that is licensing. Licensing is a thing that video games have like special things. Like GTA is a good example, right? GTA has licensed soundtracks, and the issue with that is once the license expires, sometimes the games get delisted completely off the store, and then you can't play them, or they just remove the soundtrack, like GTA did at one point. I remember they removed some of the soundtracks and then they brought it back. But there's a lot of licensed games. GoldenEye is another great example that for the longest time was not available on modern platforms, and they couldn't make it happen because the license is everywhere. You have Nintendo that owns part of it. Xbox, which now owns Rare, has part of that. You have to deal with the licensing of the characters and their likenesses. Pierce Bronson, and I forgot what all the other actors' names. But they had to talk with them. You have to talk with MGM Studios, and then you have to talk with who I forget what they are. Whoever owns the James Bond thing, they have like a certain name, but you have to talk with them too to make sure they're allowed to go ahead and do this. And that's another part of the preservation aspect that kind of sucks because you have things like that happening. What are your thoughts on that, Fan?
It kind of sucks, because I mean, like you said, gaming is a billion-dollar industry, and it that's pretty much what it is. Like they're gonna try and gatekeep it as much as they can because exactly what they do is they cycle those things around. I mean, Nintendo is a perfect example. I mean, how often do they remaster and re-release the same games over and over and over on all of their consoles?
Yeah, exactly.
And people are asking for it too because they're like, we don't have another way of playing it.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think honestly, I think the best thing they did was the Nintendo Switch Online stuff because at least for the most part, you hope that this is going to carry over to their future consoles, but it's an easy way for you to continuously play these games and have them available. And in my opinion, I think that brings value to Nintendo Switch Online, and I like it. Like I was thinking before the podcast, what if Sega kind of did the same thing, right? Sega is infamous for always having a Sega Genesis collection pretty much on every console that's come out. And if Sega did something similar, which we do already have that on Nintendo Switch Online, but like if they had something similar to that and they just added different platforms, I think it would be worth it. You can have Sega Genesis, Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, Sega CD, all that stuff on there. What are your takes on this, Sensei, when it comes to the licensing aspect of stuff?
Oh, I honestly, like I said, as long as the game comes out, I'm all good. Whatever they want to do with it afterwards, it's up to them.
Yeah, because it's like a good example is like let's say like a Naruto game or Dragon Ball Z Budokai, right? Budokai Tenkaichi. Let's say if Bandai Namco did lost the license for Dragon Ball, basically every Dragon Ball game will be unavailable because it's gone. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, right? You couldn't play that. You still can't. Well, you could play it on arcades, but because of licensing, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 hasn't been re-released, and everybody wants another Marvel vs. Capcom game. You know, specifically Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Everybody just wants that to be ported over and play that because that's probably the best Marvel vs. Capcom game they've made, in my opinion.
See, I'm never a person that goes back and plays older games. I just never really happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. Like I said, my kids have slowly they're getting back into older games, and they're liking they're playing like Skyward Sword. My other son, well, he was playing Pikmin, but he's also was playing like the Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. And they're slowly starting to see how great these games are. They don't have microtransactions. They don't have any of that stuff. So yeah, it's kind of sad to see that that's where the industry is going, and eventually these games are just gonna be gone. You know, but I agree with like what Van said earlier. Like that's why I do emulation. You know, emulation's there. Big props to the community that always develops these emulators that has everything going. I do really appreciate that because it's like without them, I would not be able to play any of these games. Like none of us would be able to play any of these games. You know, I couldn't play my childhood games because of emulation. What's up, Joe? Welcome to the podcast. You know, we would not be able to play anything. And I'm glad that they continue to do that, right? I think the hardest when it comes to emulation has been Xbox so far. For whatever reason, they're just very difficult to emulate. But other platforms like PlayStation and Nintendo stuff is pretty simple. You know, if I want to play a Wii game, you go on there, and it sucks that people try to go against that and like, oh well, that's piracy, and you don't own the game, you're not buying it, you're doing that. But like for video game preservation focus, it's like, hey, if I buy this from some random dude on eBay, Nintendo's not getting the money, or PlayStation's not getting the money, or Capcom, or whatever. They're not getting the money. So why does that matter? B, if I buy the hardware from these same people, again, Nintendo's not getting the money. Nobody else is getting the money. So it shouldn't matter. If you're not going to care about these older games, then dump it out there and let people play it. Like, that's my stance on that stuff. Do you guys agree?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, playing the ROM, there's definitely a statute of limitations, right, for like some of these ROMs. So like just the fact that you're downloading and playing it, it's not really hurting anybody because it's not out for sale. It'd be different if I was downloading a ROM of Tears of the Kingdom and I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
And I'm playing on my PC. Then yeah, that's stealing because that game is available and I can buy it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm
I
trying
agree.
to, you know, play freaking like I was saying, Legend of Gaia,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spend $100 trying to get an original copy.
Yeah.
Technically, that game isn't in circulation to be sold really anymore. Like you can only find it secondhand. So
Wind Waker.
yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, Wind Waker
But
HD specifically. Like that's
yeah,
on Wii U, and that's not even that old. That's what 10 years old, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. I mean, I actually bought it. I got on eBay for like $20. Luckily.
Yeah. I still got my copy here somewhere. It's in my basket. I no longer have my Wii U, unfortunately, but I still have my copy of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. They're just sitting there. Uh,
Do
but
you
yeah.
have Twilight Princess HD for
Mm-hmm.
Wii U?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, buy that off of you, man. I've been trying to find that.
I have 2 copies.
Oh, I'll buy one from you. I've been trying to
Yeah.
find that for my Wii U.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also, even though I have that, like I have them on my Steam Deck now too to play them because it's like, well, my Wii U is kind of like, well, it's gone, and I still want to play it. I still have the games. Like if I buy a Wii U now, Wii U's have gone way up in price because they've gotten more popular too. But I was like, nah, I'm not gonna spend money on buying another Wii U. No, screw that.
Yeah, luckily I was able to find one like on Facebook Marketplace for $100.
Nice.
So I got lucky.
Yeah, because I think we sold ours because I sold it and then I got something for the stream. It might be my graphics card or something that I got for it. I don't remember. I got something with it for the channel. But yeah, we sold it for like I think a couple hundred, like 200 or something like that. But yeah, that's it's a shame. Shame that that's a thing. And like I said, props to the people doing emulation. That's where it's at. And I'm glad there's a lot of retro handhelds too you can get, right? Or if you have an Android device, you can easily download emulators on there. If not, there's a bunch of handhelds like the Miu Mini Plus or like the Ambernix or Ein Odin and all that stuff that you can use to do emulation. Or you can always get a Steam Deck, right? Steam Deck or a ROG Ally, any of that stuff you can go ahead and use for emulation. But that brings us to the end to today. Now it's time for video game 20 questions. I don't know whose turn was it. Was it your turn, Fan?
I honestly don't know. Again, I haven't been
Yeah, you've been gone
on
for
2
2
episodes,
weeks.
so
Yeah, I don't
I have no idea.
remember. Um,
Should we
let's
even
see.
do one since it's really only you that would know it because MP Sensei's mobile gamer.
Here, I got
Unless we
one.
have him pick one and then
Yeah.
we try to guess a mobile game.
Oh, you want to go ahead and give that a try, Sensei?
There's no way.
No way you're gonna pick a random game.
No. That you would know it because it'd be like dead.
It'd be
Mobile
dead.
games are so vast.
We'll pick a
Yeah, I mean that's
non-mobile
true.
game that you might know.
I mean there's a lot of
Oh,
mobile games out there.
I'm good and stuff. It's fine.
How about this? I got one that I think Sensei would know for sure. All right,
Okay.
let's go ahead. He should know this. If he doesn't know it, then I don't know.
MP Sensei, when were you born again?
Oh,
What
one.
year? 01? Okay. Did this game come out after 2001?
Hold on one second. I have to bring it up here. Okay. What was it? Did this game come out after what?
2001.
Yes.
Okay. Did it come out after 2015?
No.
Okay.
Did it come after? Did it come out after 2010?
No.
Ooh.
Ooh. So it's between 2001 and 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't really game until like 2010. So,
No. I'm sure, but I picked this because I know you know this.
Okay. Is it a console exclusive?
Nope.
Okay,
See,
so
Joe.
it's
Joe
console platform.
said something. Birth year. What do you mean by birth year?
Oh, 2001 is
my birthday.
Oh, your
MP's
birth year. Oh, okay.
birthday. Yeah, that's why I picked it because like you said he would know it. So I'm like,
Oh, okay.
gotta be after when he was born. Should be at least. Okay, so it's not console exclusive. Came out after 21
Is it a
before
Bandai game?
2010.
Yes.
Okay. Is it based on a popular IP or based on an IP?
Yes.
Okay, so it's based on an intellectual property. So like Star
Is it in the
Wars,
Dragon Ball
Naruto, Dragon
franchise?
Ball.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So it's a Dragon Ball franchise game.
Is it in the Tenkaichi lineup?
Yes, it is.
How many Tenshinkai
Is it
games are
an
there?
odd or even number that it ends with?
Well, yeah, it has to be yes or no question.
Oh,
So,
okay. Shit.
I mean, you can ask if it's
Does
is it
this
a odd
it doesn't
number?
start with a one? I mean, sorry. Does it end with a two?
That's basically asking if it's the
Yeah,
game, so I
just
can't
yeah,
answer that
yeah.
question.
Is
Um,
is it an even number game of the series?
No.
Okay, so it's either 1, 3. Is it? Is there a 5?
there isn't any one.
Well, I mean the first one then. So that would be 1, right?
Yeah,
The first one,
and then
or it'd
we
be a
have
third
three.
one.
If it's in the Tenkaichi series, it has to be Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 1, 2, or 3.
Is it the first in the series?
No, it's not.
Okay,
Is it
so it's
Dragon
got
Ball
to be
Z
the third one.
Budokai Tenkaichi 3?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it was easy. I knew he should know that because like he knows about this game. But yes, that is Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, originally released on PlayStation 2 and Wii on October 4th, 2007.
Yeah, I played it on the Wii when it came out.
Yep. I had it on PS2. Great game. I'm glad it's coming back. That game was just amazing because of all the like the story beats you had to it. You get to play as like the GT. It's
Well,
funny.
if you played it on the Wii, you got to actually do the moves.
I do remember that.
It was quite swell.
Yeah, like you get the Wii Wiimote and the nunchuck. You can do like the
Mm-hmm.
Kamehameha. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I think GT kind of like sucks, right? But in games, I do like playing the GT area. Like there's a lot of pros to the GT stuff.
Super 17 was gas. Baby was gas. Omega was gas.
Ash says, protect emulation at all costs. I agree with you. I agree with you. Emulation needs to be protected because it's an important part to video game preservation. Like that's the only way to preserve video games nowadays is through emulation. And if emulation goes away, then yeah, we won't be able to
Yeah.
play all these old games.
And the people that make the emulators, it's not like they're selling it to you.
Yeah.
Yes, they'll accept donations if you want to donate, but they're not like saying, "Hey, you have to send us money to play it."
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true.
that's the only reason that that one streamer got in trouble with Nintendo about the multiplayer Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Oh, because he was selling it.
Well, no, he actually paid someone to create that mod for him,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Right. So he actually spent he actually like hired someone like, "Hey, you need to create this mod for me." Like he commissioned it out, which that's kind of a really gray area
Yeah.
with emulation and stuff like that because you're actually like paying someone for the ROM,
Yeah.
the code.
Or you probably shouldn't have publicly said that. Hey, I just paid somebody to make this
Yeah, I know.
mod. Just be like, oh, I just received this mod or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's people out there that are like, you could buy skins and stuff or mods for Breath of the Wild, but they're not like selling you the entire ROM of Breath of the
Mm-hmm.
They're just selling you here's the individual skin for
Yeah.
it, which I think is fine because that's just a skin. It's like Fortnite,
Yeah.
right? Just a skin. But he paid a dude to mod a whole ROM of Breath of the Wild, and then you know
Nintendo got angry.
spent money on it. So yeah, of course Nintendo's gonna be angry.
Yeah, they're very overprotected. I wouldn't say overprotected, but they're very protective
No,
of their
oh no,
IPs.
they Tiger Mom that stuff, dude, for sure.
That was who was it that did that? I'm trying to remember his name because I think that was like recently, right? That was like last year.
Yeah, it was recent, very recently.
Yeah, because I do remember that everybody was talking about him, how that happened. Then you also have the other guy, but he also the same thing. The one that like they're basically for the rest of his life they have to pay. He has to pay Nintendo. But he was selling modded switches, right? That's what he was
Yeah,
selling. Yeah.
I think
So
his name was Bowser too,
yeah, his
Yeah,
name was
his last
Bowser.
name was
Yeah.
Bowser.
which is like just funny.
That was probably icing on the cake right there. It's like, oh, your last name is Bowser. We gotta go after you. But yeah, and that's a dumb thing to do. Like, you don't sell modded hardware or anything like that. Like
Not only that, but he's old.
the guy, I thought he was a high school student, wasn't he?
No.
He was old. Oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm confusing it with somebody else then. Yeah, it's. I
It was the
remember.
high school student that got caught modding.
Oh, that was the one I got caught. Okay, and I also remember back in the days with PSPs, you can buy PSPs that had the modded battery because that in order for you to like hack the PSP at the time, you had to do a battery mod. It allow you to hack the Vita. It was something weird like that, or Vita, the PSP. I remember that back in the days. But you could on eBay, you can buy that. I'm glad that I waited on doing that because I was gonna buy one. I was like, oh, cool, I can do this. But then later on, finally, an easier way to hack the PSP happened, and I did it that way. Yeah, it was probably the best thing ever because before they brought PS1 games to PSP, people were already doing that through emulation, and eventually they allowed PSP or PS1 games to be played on PSP. So, cool stuff there. Cool stuff there. All right. Appreciate everybody for showing up. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We're sitting at 358 subscribers. We are trying to hit 500 subscribers. We do have a special event planned for the end of August, probably, or first week of September, somewhere around that time frame. So definitely be on the lookout for that for more details. It's gonna be pretty fun. We're gonna go ahead and do some cool stuff there. Did I tell you about this, fan?
What?
I didn't. Okay. So I won't announce it now. I'll announce it on our stream tomorrow because we are streaming Monday and Tuesday this week because I will be gone until Sunday. So I'll be gone for quite some time until like podcast day. So we are streaming Monday and Tuesday. I believe tomorrow will be the group stream, and then Tuesday is my solo stream where I'll continue Pokemon Black. But I will do the official announcement of everything tomorrow because I do have to fill in fan in before I actually publicly announce this because I thought I did tell you for whatever reason. But yeah, don't forget, like, subscribe on YouTube. Follow us over at Twitch where we do stream, like I said, 3 days out of the week, and then every Sunday we do have the podcast. NPSensei, where can they catch you at?
At NPSensei on all platforms.
And fan, where can they catch you at?
Same. You can catch me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube at Phaneckswhy.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow their channels if you haven't already. Sensei's pretty much doing mobile games. I know he's in the Dokkan Battle, Dragon Ball game. And then Fan, I don't know what I don't think he haven't played anything. He's been on vacation, so he hasn't played anything the last.
Yeah, I haven't streamed anything recently just because I've been on vacation, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back into it. Just trying to get back into my work-life balance. So
Yep, it's always the hard part, work-life balance. But appreciate everybody for showing up. Once again, my name is James from the Random Encounter, and we'll see you guys next time.